Good evening, participants.
Good evening, sir.
Maybe I'll wish you Dashera at the end of, advance Dashera at the end of the session, but apologies that within the Navratri, we had to set up the session. But then, I hope you will surely like the session today. So today's session being very important in understanding the frameworks and tools for sanitation planning. We would learn about the FSSM planning framework, the toolboxes available, how to work on them. We would learn on the toolboxes like shift flow diagram, etc., and also some bit about sanitation risk assessment. And to take us through this frameworks and tools, we have Dr. Eva Mary with us. She is the program coordinator at Fecal Sludge Management Alliance. With a master's in chemistry and a PhD in chemical engineering from University of KwaZulu-Natal. She has been associated with the pollution research group there as a research associate. And prior to that, she had been working with CDT Society in Bangalore. She has immense analytical skills in water quality, environmental impact assessment, etc. Having said that, I would hand over the dais to Professor Srinivas Chari to set the context of today and then take over the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, friends. Good afternoon, and I'm glad you could take out time to join this online session. Thank you, Dr. Eva, for, I know you were busy, but you took out time and agreed to share your experience. Thank you very much. So this session is super important for all of us, especially as practitioners. All of you are very busy. We tend to pick up initiatives which could be the flavor of the season, could be public toilets, could be fecal sludge treatment plants, where the funding is available. So we do sort of initiate in a bit of I would say in a demand responsive way rather than a strategic way. And part of the reason could be that we don't have the right kind of tools, right kind of information, right kind of processes in place. We often end up engaging consultants, and there are not many consultants who can actually help do this job for us. So one more important point I would like to highlight. I was in city of Puri the other day. They were trying to implement water supply improvement project, which took about close to 2 or 3 years. Now, out of those 3 years, 2 years went for planning and about 9 months for execution. And the project is really, really impeccably good. So the message that came out during the meeting where all the engineering chiefs, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Ms. Tara Madam, and many other people who are present, CPHO folks, was that we often underestimate the importance of planning. And that's, I think, is one of the bane of Indian and even the South Asian program implementation. We tend to rush. So that is precisely the reason we thought this planning conversation should happen upfront during the program. And that's where today Dr. Eva is taking us through. They have put together a number of tools, not just tools for evaluating technologies, but even tools for advocacy, tools for behavior change communication, tools for policy support, tools for introducing scheduled desludging. So it's sort of a bouquet of tools that FSM Alliance is sort of organized together. And I think this is fantastic for all of us. And we should take complete advantage of the situation and try to internalize some of these tools and implement some of these tools. Now, I don't know all of those tools, and we don't know all of these tools. So this is the burden is on Dr. Eva to take us through very, very gradually what are these tools are meant for and how they can be used. So once again, I welcome Dr. Eva on behalf of ASCI and ADBI, and I request you to start the session.
Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. And thank you, Professor Chari, for the lovely introduction to the session. I'm going to share the screen now. I hope it's visible to everyone. Right.
It's visible.
Okay, so I'll briefly take you through all the different tools and aspects of the tools that we have within the FSM toolbox. So firstly, I'd like to introduce a bit about FSM Alliance. So we were founded by these different organizations mainly for working in the international community in the FSM sector. We had a key focus initially, like before it was formed, it was the FSM conference, but we also are focusing currently on towards a vision where the world we can see most access to sanitation is equally enjoyed by everyone in a dignified manner. And then our key goals, which of course we include the FSM conference, and then we also working in the policy and standard setting for the FSM and the non-sewage sanitation services. We are also working with partners for monitoring of the FSM treatment plants or the on-site services in different countries, businesses that are involved in FSM to improve the business sector within the business space within the FSM sector, sharing of the knowledge and evidence within the sector, and also bringing up new and professional cohorts within the sector and gain with our education or trainings and educational services. So that's our goals, and we do this through conferences, membership platform. We fund evidence-based knowledge sharing within the sector and supporting small and medium enterprises in the sector. So this is our team currently. We are based in Rotterdam, Netherlands. And yeah, so that's basically us. And now onto the FSM toolbox. So the toolbox itself is an electronic platform, so it's accessible by everyone if you have an internet access. And it has, we have taken different tools that were present in the sector and combined them for a better end user functionality in the toolbox. So earlier it was all in different Excel based or some few web based tools, but then there were many looking at same or similar kind of functions. We brought them all together to work in a cohesive manner so that the end user that is the planner or the engineer or the municipality, people in the municipality could use it in a more functional way in the way they work. So it has aspects that affect the whole of the sanitation value chain. So I'm sure you already have heard a lot about the sanitation value chain, and we'll be hearing more about that today. So here we have both the fecal sludge where after the toilet, the sludge is stored before it's transported and treated, whereas the conventional method where the wastewater and the sludge is directly transported. So that's the difference in the value chain. You see both of them when you map out for a city or a locality. For example, the SFD, the sludge flow diagram, we'll see it later on. So I'm just highlighting what value chain would look like. Just a exercise, feel free to answer in the chat box. Also, I will pause in between for questions. So if you want me to repeat or if you want clarifications, feel free to write them on the chat. I'll get to them. Okay, so just showing you a few pictures and to identify, because visual is better, what is fecal sludge and what is wastewater sludge. This is clearly fecal sludge because it's small, it's contained, it's not a larger area for a larger population. It's for a single household in this case. And this is the waste stabilization pot. So sludge from this, which serves a whole of a city or a municipality becomes the wastewater sludge. And again, a fecal sludge example, being carried, transported after desludging, sludge drying beds, sludge from the sludge drying beds. So just so that we are clear of what is fecal sludge and what is not. Okay, so I'll just play a video that introduces this toolbox.
Citywide inclusive sanitation, CWIS, means that everybody benefits from adequate sanitation service delivery outcomes. Human waste is safely managed along the whole sanitation service chain. Effective resource recovery and reuse are considered. A diversity of technical solutions is embraced for adaptive, mixed and incremental approaches, and on-site and sewerage solutions are combined in either centralized or decentralized systems to better respond to the realities found in developing country cities. Fecal sludge management, FSM, which is the collection, transport, and treatment of fecal sludge from pit latrines, septic tanks, or other on-site sanitation systems, is one essential component of citywide inclusive sanitation. The FSM Toolbox offers a suite of tools, guidelines, case studies, videos, and other resources to assist practitioners and policymakers to assess their performance on managing fecal sludge and formulate strategies for infrastructure improvements, institutional reforms, and financial mobilization for sustainable and effective FSM. The FSM Toolbox has two main product features. The first is the FSM Assessment Tool. This tool is designed to assist users to undertake a 360-degree self-assessment of the status of FSM in the city and generates a city FSM score supported by a detailed assessment report, which serves as a starting point to identify areas demanding greater attention. So, if you're looking to generate a citywide baseline on fecal sludge management and identify areas for improvement, we encourage you to use the assessment tool. The second product feature is a planning toolkit, which offers a suite of tools that is designed to assist users with questions such as, what is the most appropriate treatment technology for my city? Or, how many desludging trucks does my city need? Every product has a data-light rapid version and a survey-based geospatial version called the FSM Pro series. FSM Pro versions of the tools are powerful geospatial tools that allows you to collect, track, plan and visualize all your data and your decisions geospatially real-time. The platform has several attractive features and functions too. It allows you to save your data, generate attractive maps and infographics, and track your progress over time online. It also assists users on how best to collect the data through hints and suggestions. The platform offers a search-friendly library of resources on procurement templates, policy documents, and guidelines. The tools and resources are available in 4 languages, namely French, English, Lao, and Bangla. Let's get started.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So now that we've briefly seen the toolbox and also seen where it is, how it is used, let's take a deeper dive, and I'll take you through step-by-step process of each of the tools mentioned. So this is when you open up and see what is a toolbox, this is how it looks. You have all the guidance videos that we just saw, and also for each of the tool within it. So you can, even after this session, if you want to revise or just remember, the videos are available. So as mentioned, there's 2 types of tools. One is the assessment, and then the second is the planning. So it's found under the execute function. If I were to briefly state the tools under the assessment, which is the SFD and the CSDA, under the planning, there's the stakeholder plan, then there's this infrastructure planning, and then there's the business model planning. So on the SFD and the CSDA ask the question of, like, SFD asks, like, what is the sanitation situation in an area, and then the CSDA asked the question of why is the situation in that area like that? Like, what are the conditions that are leading to that? So that's under the assessment. You understand, asking what is the condition and why is the condition like that? And then the planning, then you go on to, okay, how do I improve, or what are the steps that need to be taken under each of the items under the value chain? How do I address each of them? So yeah, these are the tabs, and you can easily create your own profile and start using it directly once you sign up and sign in. It's all your data is private, safe, and it's private to you. So that's the main page. Now, once you sign up, this is the page it looks like. So you enter your details, you sign in. So then before we jump into the assessment part, I'm going to take a quick question. Oh, you wanted me to speak loudly. Okay. Yes. You failed to plan. Okay. Okay. So no questions so far. I will speak loudly. Yes. Okay. So for the assessment, well, the assessment, as I said, it details of what is wrong in the areas. Brief 3-minute
version of the integrated assessment tool is designed to help you assess both the material flows of fecal waste using the shift flow diagram and diagnose the policy, institutional, and regulatory environment using the city service delivery assessment tool. The output includes an automated report that includes the SFD graphic and CSDA results in it. So you may choose to view the questionnaire before starting the process of filling the data by clicking on the View Questionnaire button. You may also refer to the demo video at any point for guidance on how this will work. Once you get started with the assessment tool, it takes you to the shift flow diagram module, where you can fill out the data to generate the SFD graphic. It prompts you to fill out basic information about the city. This SFD tool then covers a set of key questions to assess the existing sanitation systems in the city and how the waste generators manage across it. I'm not sure about how to collect data for these indicators. Click on the information icon next to each question. This will give you a hint on how best to estimate or source the data. Once you finish entering all information for generating the SFD, the tool then takes you to the CSDA module. While the shift flow diagram depicts the flows of fecal waste in the city service delivery assessment helps investigate the underlying policy, institutional, and regulatory environment to help explain the context within which the material flows of fecal waste are. Based on the city context, you can customize the tool to enter data for either sewer sanitation or non-sewer sanitation, or both. You can toggle between the tabs to enter data for sewer and non-sewer sanitation components. This section focuses on assessing the quality of the overall ecosystem, including financial health, regulatory, and institutional arrangements and equity. You can also choose to edit the questions and options, customize and adapt them to your local conditions. Please refer to the guidelines provided for each question to understand the intent and purpose of the indicator. This will help you customize the question.
Could we lower the volume, the music,
output,
or it's embedded?
It's embedded, unfortunately, but I will go through it in detail. Okay.
Yeah.
Rosemary, it would be good if someone can speak about the components.
Yes, I will be doing that. So I think you can view the video later at your own time. Maybe I'll just skip through this to the next steps and I'll talk about each of the components in detail. So assessment has like the two main.
Your volume is less. Your audio is.
Is it better now?
Banerjee, is it better?
It's little
No.
faded.
Yeah, it's exactly.
It's very.
We are missing out a few words, Eva.
Maybe you can come a little closer to the mic and speak.
Okay. Optimize. Okay. All right, let's try this.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
better.
This.
Better.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so we have the shit flow diagram that is both embedded within the toolbox, and also you can directly go to the Susanna link. Then there's the City Service Delivery Assessment, that is a CSDA, and then the desk space integrated, where you can do within the toolbox itself, both SFT and CSDA together. So let's just see how you access it. When you go under the execute function, assessment, SFT redirects you to the sft.susanna.org, which is the site for the SFT, the shit flow diagram. And once if you generate a graphic, generate the shit flow diagram for a city, this is what you will be taken. I'll just go through how to generate, and then followed by understanding of how do you read the CSD. Yeah, so what you need, the data you would need is in terms of population, in the terms of percentage of population, the different types of containment systems that are there, that is either on-site or off-site, and then how it is discharged along the and to the next value link in the value chain, and where it goes further on. So that's where you start with 100% of the fecal sludge that is generated, or the fecal waste that is generated in a given area, and where how it is taken through the sanitation value chain. So that's how you do it. And the second method you access it is, like I said, execute shit flow diagram directly within the FSM toolbox, or in the integrated assessment, where you do both the SFT and the CSDA.
So many of our city practitioners may be hearing for the first time the term SFD. So would you like to just give a brief about why this SFD is important, why what is this SFD is all about? So not everybody is sort of completely familiar with the global terminology. So I'll appreciate if you could take us through.
Definitely. Yeah, so the shit flow diagram, or the SFD, it's the visual graphic representation for a stakeholder to see and visualize and identify the total flow and the flow of the fecal waste that is produced by the population in a given area. So if it's like a graph, it's a graph, and it shows from left to right. You read it like the fecal waste is flowing along the different value chain, sanitation value chain systems, and then how much of it is going from the beginning, the generation, to the safely managed, contained post-treatment, and then it's led to the environment, or reused, repurposed, etc. So that is the flow. Then the stakeholder then can visually see how much is gone directly to the complete, goes across the complete process, and hence it's green, so it's safe, and then how much of it is unsafely discharged. So that is represented in the red color. So it's very visual. You see, like if your city is green in SFT, it means it's managing its fecal flow very well. And if it's not, if it's very has a lot of red in it, then the next step, okay, there needs to, as a stakeholder, you will know, why is it red? What are the conditions that are making it appear in red? Then you go into the why of it and how to solve it. So yeah, so as a planner, as a funder, or as a government official, this gives you one snapshot of the whole of your area that you're looking at, either city, a municipality, a region, depending on the size that you're looking, mostly a city. Yeah. So that is the brief overview of the shit flow diagram. I'll just then now take you through within the FSM toolbox, how you go through each of the what data, how you enter it, and what you get out of it. And then we'll go to how do you read the said shit flow diagram. So here is a example of a shit flow diagram that is done by an organization in South Africa for the province of Western Cape. And so the brief introduction, city information is captured. And then we capture the containment or the initial phase, which is the if it's on-site sanitation or off-site sanitation. So if it's directly sewered, then it comes under this, and the percentage of population that is served by sewered connection. Does it go to decentralized combined sewer? Does it go to the treatment plant directly? Is there is it connected to a soak pit in between? And what is the risk of those soak pits? Similarly, for septic tanks, is it taken in by a tank but to be emptied? Does it then go into a open drain or a stormwater? Is it discharged into the storm or drain, or is it taken directly a treatment plant? So it's going through the flow of the fecal matter and identifying where a set of, for the city, the set population waste is going. And so you look through all of this containment system, and then you follow the fecal waste along the value chain. And that's what's captured here. And then these are other more questions on the different types of setup. The containment is just a view that is also includes the outlet, overflow, etc. So yeah, this is filled in. And then you answered some of the questions also include the proportion of the content of each, because it varies from city to or area to area, how what is the content of each type of on-site is its fecal sludge, because if it's emptied often, it might not have as much settlement in the septic tanks, and then type of the tank also impacts on the amount of fecal sludge that is present. So it helps also in identifying or seeing if the waste is going into a treatment plant or it's not, it's directly emptied out. So this also is captured. And then the total percentage of fecal sludge delivered to the treatment plant and which is treated. So that is again from the containment. If it's going to the treatment plant, it is addressed here. And then the total percentage of supernatant if it is delivered. So that's also treated under the waste, within the wastewater part of the treatment plant. Here they have identified for the that Cape, the Western Cape area, the percentage of wastewater that is delivered to the treatment plant and treated. What is the total number? This is for the overall part of the treatment plant for that given area, not treatment plants, I should say. And what percentage of the wastewater that is delivered to this, those treatment plants are treated. If there's any waste, if there's any overflow, if there's if it's overcapacity and it's not direct, some of it is not completely treated, like just on terms of percentage that is captured here. And also same for the decentralized. And then we arrive at something that looks like this. This is the SFD or the shit flow diagram. Here, how to read this is the containment part of it, and like that is offsite or on-site or is open defecation. So then if it's, contained or not, that is a 33% of fecal sludge is contained. And then some of the offsite is directly taken in for the treatment via sewer connections. The on-site 133% is contained. Of this 27% is not emptied. That means it's just contained in there and stays as is. So it might be not some treatment, containment systems that you are, once it's full, they close and they open up a new containment system. And then there is 7% which is emptied, then if it's delivered to the treatment system. but then there's an overwhelming amount of 65% of the on-site system, which is not contained, and hence is directly emptied into the system and into the nature, or it has direct contact with humans. So that's why you can see it as red. So for this area, 37% in the green, 64% in the red. So it's unsafely managed. So this is prepared. Here we can see who prepared it and when it was prepared. And then it is also the area where it was prepared. Sorry, couldn't see that. Yeah. Yeah, so we have a short video of the SFT that is prepared by Susanna. I'm just going to play it.
नाले में,
हवा में, टॉयलेट में,
ग्रीन सीवर।
सीवर से आगे कहाँ जाता है? सीवर से आगे
क्या पता वो कहाँ है, हमें क्या पता।
मेन हॉल जो होता है।
It goes into the drain and then it gets treated at sewage treatment plant.
Gets purified and again it is used back also.
अरे यार प्यूरीफाई होगा, पागल है।
लेट्रिन, टॉयलेट में, नाली में, नदी में, नदी से समुद्र में। अरे वो जाएगा तो जमीन के अंदर, हमारा जल दूषित होगा, वही हम पिएंगे।
I think it goes back to the Yamuna.
I don't know regarding sanitary thing. I mean,
उसको कोई एसिड जैसे होता है गैस, या तो उसको गैस बनाकर बल्ब जलाया, लाइट जलाया जाता है, गैस लाइट होता है।
आप चट्टी का गैस बनाते हैं?
बनाते नहीं है, बनता है। नहीं पता।
How do we figure out where our shit goes? To solve this problem, we use a shit flow diagram, also known as the excreta flow diagram.
The shit flow diagram, or SFD, is a powerful mapping tool for city planners, engineers, and consultants. It instantly communicates where the excreta of a city goes after it leaves its source. A single graphic at a glance tells how the excreta travels from the points of generation to the sites of disposal.
I think it has to do with, as I said earlier, recognizing where the problem is. You know, if the problem is that not people have enough latrines, then maybe, you know, an approach on building latrines solve the problem. But that, you know, as we've seen, it tends not to be the case. The problem is after the toilet. What happens to the sludge? Is it contained? Is it emptied? Do the emptiers take it to the treatment plant? And the shit flow allows you to see, okay, what parts of this chain are dysfunctional, and therefore it helps with designing interventions aimed at those particular breakdowns in the fecal sludge management chain.
The top row of the graphic is the sanitation service chain. Containment has three broad categories: off-site sanitation, on-site sanitation, and open defecation. Each of the categories are represented by boxes of different width. The width of each box represents the percentage of population dependent on that particular category. This sounds simple, right? The SFD graphic is read from left to right. The width of each arrow represents the percentage of population dependent on that particular system. The wastewater arrow originates from the off-site sanitation system, while the arrows representing fecal sludge and supernatant originate from the on-site sanitation system. The arrows are marked either in red or green depending on how the excreta is managed at each stage of the sanitation chain. Green means safe, whereas red means unsafe. If pathogen transmission to general public is limited by the system, it is considered as a contained system and hence is shown as green in color. Otherwise, red is used. The green arrows tend to go towards the right, whereas the red arrows generally drop down.
Groundwater pollution is an important factor which determines whether a system is contained or not.
whether a particular system is polluting the groundwater is a site-specific question. For example, in Bikaner, an unlined pit would be considered a contained system, as the groundwater table is very low. To determine the risk of groundwater pollution, there is a separate tab available on the graphic generator where, by answering the questions like groundwater table, type of soil, extent of extraction of water, one would get to know whether the risk is significant or not.
Let's take the SFD of Cuttack as an example. Here, one can see that the wastewater generated by 19% of its population is contained as they are connected to a sewerage network, and hence that arrow is marked as green. The arrow in red, on the other hand, is for the 3% of population's wastewater which is not contained as it flows into the open drains. Similarly, both the arrows of supernatant and fecal sludge are red, as septic tanks connected to open drain is considered as a not contained system. There is also a red arrow for the 11% of the population that defecate in the open, which is also considered as not contained. The green arrows under the emptying and transportation segments indicate that the wastewater from 7% of population is safely transported and delivered to the treatment plants, but the wastewater from the 14% of population is not treated and hence drops down as a red arrow. The arrows for supernatant and fecal sludge also follow a similar pattern. If the emptied fecal sludge and supernatant is delivered to the treatment plants, the arrow turns green, otherwise it drops down as red. So in total, the excreta of 31% of population is safely managed, while the excreta of 69% of population is not.
The shit flow diagram has two components. One is the graphic and the other is the report. The graphic should be read with the report because the report has the quality of the service being delivered across the sanitation chain. If you want to understand the excreta management of the city, the graphic should be read with the report. The report also gives us the source of data, the stakeholders involved, and also the assumptions made to make the graphic.
So how do we make this shit flow diagram? The process of developing an SFD starts by getting a broad understanding of the city and assessing the sanitation scenario in that location. This is done through the collection of required data on population and the sanitation systems in the city from secondary data sources. The secondary data include literature review of published, unpublished, and government documents pertaining to sanitation, such as the census reports, detailed project reports, city sanitation plans, master plans, and many more. So what should be the next step? To identify the stakeholders from whom the required data can be collected. A well-defined strategy should be developed to engage with the identified stakeholders. This strategy may include field observations of the prevalent systems and services, feedback from informants, measurement of the efficiency of treatment systems, and focus group discussions with the stakeholders involved. This quantitative data is then fed into the SFD graphic generator. The SFD graphic generator produces an SFD graphic which depicts the management of excreta at each of the 4 stages of the service delivery chain.
I think this has helped a lot when we were trained on this particular tool by Center for Science and Environment. We learned that how only by inputting data this sheet flow diagram can be generated. So this particular infographic has been very effective and I think this should continue.
So how to use an SFD graphic generator? Now let us go through the official website www.sfd.susanna.org to understand how to generate an SFD using the SFD tool. Click on the toolbox option and select SFD graphic generator. Now click on Start New SFD Graphic. Let us go one step at a time. Step 1. Enter the general information about the city, such as the name of the city, state and country. Put in the date on which the graphic is prepared. Then fill in the population, the type of SFD level, and the name of the person who prepared the SFD. Now select all possible sanitation systems present in the city. Mark it in the selection grid given below. To understand the parameters and details about the selection grid, click on the alphabet I in the right corner. Clicking on I opens up the instructions on how to use the selection grid. To answer the questions pertaining to groundwater pollution, one needs to click on the button called Risk of Groundwater Pollution. The left column of the selection grid describes all types of containment systems. The consecutive columns describe what these containment systems are connected to. Let us assume in a city X, 3 types of containment systems are present. A toilet with no on-site containment, which is connected to a centralized combined sewer, a septic tank which is connected to an open drain, and a lined pit with semi-permeable walls with an open bottom and no outlet. To create an SFD matrix, enter the proportion of fecal sludge one can find inside each type of containment system. For further explanation on this, click on I present on the rightmost corner. Next, click on Create SFD Matrix. An SFD matrix appears. The leftmost column consists of the selected containment systems. As one can notice, each containment system is labeled by a unique variable. One should refer to the SFD glossary to understand the systems through the variables in depth. The next column indicates the proportion of population who use each of the containment systems. The consecutive columns indicate questions on the proportion of wastewater, fecal sludge, and supernatant along the service delivery chain. Step 3. Now, select Draw SFD Graphic. The SFD graphic of City X shows that the excreta of 52% of population is safely managed and the remainder is unsafely managed. The SFD graphic and the data fed into making the SFD can be further downloaded and saved by clicking on Download Data and by selecting the required file.
Yeah, actually it is like interesting tool, but data intensive also. We didn't have so much of data about the containments because as you know, the census does not have so much detailed information on containment. It just says a septic tank and a pit lateral and open defecation. That's it. So to have intensive data, we had done a baseline study. So that was a sample based. So from that we could pull out some different types of containments, and then we could filter them out and match to what criteria the SFD tool demands.
A city should make a sheet flow diagram because it's a much more accurate representation of the problem that untreated fecal sludge does for the environment, for the health. If you look at a place like Dhaka, Bangladesh, if they are using the traditional measure of access sanitation, more than 98% of the people have that access. But if you look at where the sludge goes, it also turns out that more than 90% is not treated. That's why, a representation like the sheet flow diagram is more accurate.
When we started working on the SFD, it was primarily used as an assessment tool for excreta flows. With time, we realized its potential as an effective advocacy and monitoring tool as well. All in all, CSC has produced SFDs for 27 cities in India and has extensively used them for advocacy purpose. So, if your city does not have an SFD yet, go ahead and start producing one to create awareness on excreta management and to determine the gaps present in the service delivery chain.
Excuse me. Yeah, that was a very detailed video. Again, to recap, this is how you would read the SFD. Containment on the left, reading from left to right, service chain at the top, percentage of population that is dependent on a certain sanitation system is indicated by the width of the arrows. Yeah, so I think this was captured. I'm not going to repeat this again. So it gives a detailed overview. So it's very helpful for decision makers and stakeholders to understand at a snapshot what is needed in that particular town or municipality, and highlights the areas which needs attention and indicates the percentage population that is affected by it, and then the actions could be taken after. So I'm hoping that this after this you're able to read SFT graphic. I will let this as an exercise, but later on you can go through it. Okay, so I'm just going to briefly take if there's any questions.
So there are just a couple of questions. Thank you very much for introducing the first tool. Friends, the excreta flow diagram or SFD shit flow diagram is a tool to understand in a very graphical way. It's a very powerful advocacy to communicate to your stakeholders what is the extent of safe and unsafe practices prevail in your town. Now, at a glance, you would get what percentage of households are on safe side and what percentage of households are on unsafe side. So even there are few questions. Question number one, there are in certain cities, there are some communities like even in Mumbai, quite a few households are dependent on shared sanitation facilities. That is public toilets or community toilets. If you go to Dharavi, the lot of community toilets, lot of slums have a lot of community toilets. They're ready to migrate to individual household toilets. How does that gets reflected here? Is it an acceptable? Will it be treated as a green or will it be treated as a red?
So it all depends on the type of containment that those toilets are. We are not looking, the SFT is not capturing the type of user interface. It starts from the containment side. So no matter what kind of user interface, if it's individual household or community or shared household, it depends on what those toilet blocks are connected to. If it's directly sewered or if it's an on-site system or if it's, let out into a drain or an open drain, etc. So that is where we start, no matter what kind of user interface is before. I hope that answers.
Very good point. So, Mr. Singh, your question about joint monitoring committee definition of safe, unsafe toilets, it is not a safe management of sanitation. I think SFD is not looking at that point, but I think it is starting from the containment. Is a containment safe or unsafe? So even there are one or two other questions. How do I know whether the bottom of the toilet is properly lined, unlined? How do we get this data properly? Of course, there's a reference made about sample survey. So how do you generally, what is your advice?
So usually we start with what the existing data we have, right? And then of course there will be gaps because from all the like even if it is census data or if it is the other plans, master plans, etc. for the city, it would not have everything that you would need to complete it. So I think after the first step, like putting in the data or identifying the data that you already have, the next step would be doing a baseline study or a survey from a select group of people or within the locality or the area that you're doing the SFT for. So the study would then involve questioning or with the questioning the people that are involved in from the municipality side or from the stakeholders in the area to understand what kind of system it is. So it is, it would need some amount of study prior to the data being entered, yes.
So Eva, there is one more question, which is, you have a septic tank, this is also related to question of our friends from Africa asked, what is safe and what is unsafe? If there is a septic tank and the outlet of the septic tank is connected to a drain, it's not connected to soak pit. Now that's a clear case of on-site system. How do you view from a SFD point of view? Is it unsafe system?
So if the septic tank is present, that means it's contained. But then if it is connected to an open drain, then emptying and transport might be red, but some it depends on what, if some of the areas they connect the open drain at a later stage to a treatment plant. So then whatever amount of volume of that is treated from the open water is connected to the treatment plant, that is then added as percentage. So that is treated. So generally, if it goes from containment to open drain or a nala or anything like that, it would be the red. It would be unsafely managed. Yeah.
It is called as safely managed.
Unsafe.
Unsafe managed. Okay. So I think that answers some questions. There's one more issue. One of our friends asked, the on-site systems are conventionally dealing with the human waste, black water, the anal washings and black water. Now, much of the gray water, which also contains a bit of pathogens and gets cross-contaminated with overflow of septic tanks. So the gray water is sort of not captured in the septic tank initiatives, through the containment system. So how do you, is SFD restricted to only black water and not looking at gray water? Am I right?
That's correct. Yeah. It's shit flow diagram. So it's, I guess, black water flow diagram. Yeah, it's technically black water and not gray water. That is looked at here. Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
Just I want to clarify. So if there is a septic tank and only black water is coming and going to the drain, so and no shit is coming out of course, some percentage or some minor shit coming from the black water. So can we classify this as a safe suggestion and it will be classified as a green, or it will remain as a red one?
So you're saying some amount of it is overflowing into the drain and the rest is contained?
Yeah, the black water, only black water is coming, no solid is coming from the, septic tank, and they empty and they take it to the treatment plant, but due to the overflow, the black water, there is no soak it and it is connected to the drain.
In that case, the supernatant part will be red. So there's two parts under the on-site sanitation. There is the fecal sludge part, and then there's a supernatant part. So the supernatant part, if it is the black water, technically the liquid component of the waste that is contained, it is not safely managed after containment. So that will be red. But the rest that is treated, like that is transported, empty, transported and treated, that will be green. So then after, from a chunk, it goes into smaller and smaller pieces, like here, for example. Okay. Yeah, this is a supernatant that is not contained, and this is the fecal sludge. So if the part of the fecal sludge is treated, great. If the rest is let into a nala, which is going not treated, some amount of here is like from the open drain, it is captured back into a water treatment system, then that percentage is called as safely managed. Okay, I hope that. Okay, so in the interest of time, I'll just continue. We can, if there's time later, we can take questions later then. So then we come to the second tool, that is a city service delivery assessment. So within the tool, it again falls under the assessment, and you can find it both as both single component or together with the CSDA. It asks the questions of why, what are the conditions that are there in a city that led to, or that is the reason that the city's sanitation services are like that. So it includes both infrastructure, policies, like what kind of legislations, laws, etc. So it's all captured under the CSDA assessment. Yeah. So here it looks at both the sewage sanitation and the non-sewage sanitation. And it's divided into the three different kinds of environment, that is the enabling environment, the developing environment, and then there's sustaining. So things that enable the the sanitation system to function, the thing that sanitation solutions to exist and be present, and then how does the system continue to function within the given area. So under each, there are 3 more pillars. So that's under enabling, there's the policy, planning, and inclusion. And in these are different questions, and the questions are answered in 3.3 grade. It's either 0 or 1, or in between 0.5. And so this scale of assessment, like 0 to 1, helps in understanding within all the questions that are asked under each of these pillars under enabling, developing, and sustaining environments. So we have the policy related questions such as, is there a policy? Is the policy well known and acknowledged and available? And it's again divided into mute yourself, please. It's divided into to the user interface, connections or containment and sewerage, and treatment plants and reuse, etc. So that's related to policy. Then we have institutional roles and legislation and regulation, etc. So each, as I think in the video we briefly mentioned, how you can, for example, some amount of modification is allowed, but again, there is an information link button that shows you how much you can't modify too much of the question. The essence of the question should remain the same. So I would advise caution. This is just to contextualize your question for the area that, so some of this might be different from a country in Africa to a South Asian country. So just to contextualize, there's some amount of editing available in all the question and the options. And then you can assess based for the given area or the given location, the policies and the institutional roles that are responsible for the sanitation systems, the regulations and legislations that are applicable. All of them are then rated according to the scale. Similarly, also for the non-sewage sanitation. So the output of this then is a report that also visualizes based on the traffic light system, the 3-color system of red, yellow, and red, yellow, orange, and green. So here the red depicts the actions that are immediately necessary for that particular pillar, that is the toilet, the pit, latrine, septic, the user interface, and the containment unit. And here it is red. So, and under the funding. So there needs to be more funding availability for building that is under the delivery services. So for the toilet or pits or septic tanks, there need to be more funding for more of the availability of more transport or systems, etc. Not transport, sorry, toilet construction, etc. And then there is the red again for sludge treatment and reuse. So that's the other thing that the city officials need to look at, more funding allocated to more treatment plants for that particular area. Then in order is the orange, which after the reds items in red are taken care of, the items in orange, and then green is advisory, like if you to maintain or if there's funding after all of them are in green, what next steps that could be taken. So that's how you read the report from the CSDA. When you to know what exactly is each of them recommend, you can click on each of the chevron buttons and it details you what is the exact action that are recommended by this report, like so here. So here they talk, it's green, then here they have asked to ask for like immediate primary actions for the planning and the financing area. It's depicted here for the sewage pillar under the planning and budgeting. And so you can read, and then depending on the availability of both resources from the governing bodies, it is allocated as the next steps to be taken. So this is a useful tool for the municipalities or governing bodies for an area to identify and allocate budget for their area for the within the sanitation system. Yeah. Okay. I will skip the questions here. I'll take the next one. So then we come to the planning. Here we have the stakeholder engagement plan, infrastructure planning, and the business model selection. So we'll just now go through the stakeholder engagement plan.
The Stakeholder Assessment Tool is a visualization tool that assists users classify the key stakeholders in the FSM system based on their level of interest and influence. You may refer to this demo video at any point for guidance on how the tool works. Once you get started with the Stakeholder Engagement Tool, it prompts you to fill out basic information about yourself and the city. To get started, first the users must select the broad types of stakeholders present in the city. Here, you have the option to add new stakeholder typologies or unselect groups that are not relevant to your city context from the given list. Once you do this, the tool prompts you to enter the type and names of the stakeholders under each of the typologies selected. You can also add a new type or subtype by clicking on Add New Stakeholder Type. Once you fill in the stakeholder details, the tool takes you to the dashboard, where you can rank each stakeholder on a 6-point scale, ranging from little, no interest or influence to crucial. Influence refers to the power a stakeholder has on decision-making process and the implementation of a project. Interest is basically the stakeholder's motivation level towards implementing the FSM project. As you continue rating the influence and interest parameters for the stakeholders, the tool populates the interest-influence matrix real-time and showcases the position of all stakeholders for a comprehensive view. Upon completion, the output is displayed with the completed interest-influence matrix of stakeholders. The tool also provides broad recommendations for all stakeholders and suggests engagement guidelines. A report summarizing the results, including the graphs and infographics, is automatically generated and is made available in a PDF format. The user may publish it on the FSM library for the benefit of other users, or share the same by email. Your outputs will only be saved on our library and made available publicly if you choose to make it available by clicking on Publish. We hope you found our demo video useful. For more information, please...
Right. So this brings us to stakeholder engagement plan, which is then useful for any kind of FSM-related work that is undertaken within a city or a municipality to understand and graphically also visualize the stakeholders that need to be consulted and who are influencing the project the most, or have more interest or least interest or less interest. So it's just a map that gives the consultant or the people who are carrying out at the municipalities or the even the NGOs or any other institution to take in the other players for the project and which kind of information need to be consulted at which stage, etc., for the project. So yeah, this is the engagement, but it's very straightforward to use, as also shown in the video. Yeah, this just needs to that all the relevant stakeholders are included and the roles are identified in the beginning. So yeah, again, we saw how it functions, and this is the output of the engagement. Again, I'll leave the questions for your exercise later for you to do it at your own time. Then we come to the infrastructure planning under the planning tool set. This has two components, the city level infrastructure planning and the regional level infrastructure planning.
The Citywide Planning Tool is a powerful decision support tool designed to help you collect and analyze geospatial data to plan for infrastructure investments along the FSM value chain. You may choose to view the questionnaire before starting the process of filling out the data by clicking on the View Questionnaire button. You may refer to this demo video at any point for guidance on how the tool works. Once you get started, the tool prompts you to select the type of infrastructure improvements you want to undertake by clicking on the tab Planning Tools. The tool is designed to help you estimate the infrastructure gap and identify a menu of suitable responses to aspects such as household and community.
Sorry, I'm just going to pause it here because it is available later, and I think I'll rather do the talking and continue so we can have more meaningful dialogue later. So this infrastructure planning then helps in identify and plan the intervention along the value chain that is necessary for the fecal sludge management for the given area. There are different types of information that need to be collected. So they based on the intervention that you're planning for, if it is household, public toilet, vehicle procurement, or even all of them, the data collection questionnaire will vary. So you can choose all of them or one of them. And then based on the data that you've collected from your assessment, you will be able to enter a few of the, you'll be able to understand which of the activities are needed, you need to collect the questions for planning and infrastructure. For example, in this case, they have on-site sanitation where the fecal sludge is not managed. So the CSDA assessment also states more funding for constructing of toilets and treatment system. So that's what you have selected here: household community toilet construction and treatment plant size estimation and site selection and technology shortlisting for probable intervention in that site as well. So then what are the steps that involve developing a plan? So you will first prepare the questionnaire from after identifying the key areas of intervention, and then externally you start with the data collection and then the data analysis and the reporting. So in the meanwhile, we also do the sample size determination and then training the enumerators internally. But that's outside is mostly questionnaire, data collection, data analysis, reporting. And then the data collection is done via a mobile application, which is tracked online at real time. Also, you can review data from the enumerators on the mobile application real time. So graphically, as the engineer, the planner then starts his planning questionnaire. The enumerator receives a notification and agrees, and then goes and collects the survey, which is fed into the engineer, the planner directly. And then they can see the number of surveys that are completed from the total number and in which areas it is. Like the 2 that we selected in the household, 6 were completed out of the 10, and so also for the community toilets. And then you see a graphical pie chart also. This is a view of how to add a new enumerator within the system. You can just need their name, email ID, and then you see the status on the right. So yeah, this is how the app would look. And this is the survey, how the survey would look. So it's built in for a smartphone, of course. It doesn't need internet connection while collecting the survey. So even in the remote areas, the surveys could be collected. And once the first enumerator is back, or the data collector is back with the data, within the internet connection area, the data will be uploaded online to the server. So that's the tools. There are a number of assumptions that take place for the planning. So I'm just going to, for the toilets, for example, the number of seats per that is required for X number of population, X number of men, the number of seats both in for men and women in community toilets, and then number of seats for men and women also for a public toilet seat. So those are the numbers that need to be put in based on the regional guidelines or the rules that is set up by the code within that region or area or country specifically. So that is the one of the assumptions for the public toilet or the household community toilet, sorry. So here we're going to go through the public toilet construction. Once the questionnaire is selected and the survey is launched, the data is collected, which includes the current GPS location of the current public toilets, and also location of if there is any empty areas that a public toilet could be installed. Yes. And then the next question, average floating population area if in the public area, the male-female ratio, the available public toilets, and then the infrastructure details of the available public toilets. So that includes the number of toilet seats, containment unit, access, emptying service, etc. Then, as I mentioned, the GPS location of vacant land is also collected. The size of the vacant land, water availability, and other characteristics of the site is collected so that it could be planned for the planning purposes. Then the data is, once these are fed in, the data is processed. The algorithm uses for the public area, the total male to female ratio, and from the benchmark, what is the required male to female toilets for that floating population, and then the difference is used to assess if the available toilets are sufficient or if there needs to be more new public toilets built for that area. Yeah. So the distance that a user is willing to travel, so that also is taken into account when doing the public toilet coverage. So then the algorithm for construction of the new public toilet, it says if there's a need for the new construction, or if the current toilet system, public toilet system, is sufficient, and then if for the vacant land, the number of toilet systems that could be built, and then the distance between where the population is concentrated, and the willingness to travel is also assessed to identify the exact vacant land that will be used. And then once that is identified, according to the male to female ratio, the seats are allocated to meet the demand. So this is an example. For floating population of 5,000, 3,000 are women that need public toilets, and 2,000 men. the number of public toilet seats available is 50, and which, according to the assumption for 2,000 men, 50 toilet seats, it's sufficient. And then for the women, the available female public toilet seats is 50, but sorry. But according to the ratio that is required for the number of female floating population, there needs to be 25 additional toilet seats to be constructed. So this is basically how your data that you collect from the survey is used. And this is a visualization of the area. You see for the public space here, you see the total floating population, available toilet seats versus the required, so proposed new ones for both men and women. And then you come to where is the available ones currently located. And then you see where's the empty slots where a new one could be put up. And then based on the willingness to travel, you choose the sites and then the number of seats if it's sufficient. And if it's still not sufficient to the gap that is identified, you can build another one depending on the available funding. Okay, so then for the household toilet construction, similarly, after the survey is launched, we get the GPS location, population of household, access to the community toilets or the household sorry, I don't know what IHS was. Yeah. Availability of the functionality as in the type of toilet system and the current toilet use practices, and then the sanitation, on-site sanitation service system, sanitation services if it's present, land availability, preference, water availability is for the household, and also for the community toilets, GPS location, number of seats, and then the number of households that is dependent, and the on-site sanitation service, on-site sanitation service. Then you need the vacant land is also captured for the community toilet, including GPS, size, water availability, etc. So then when you feed all these data into the algorithm, you come up with something that looks like this, a map with what is the total number of households within the city. Then you identify the number of community toilets that are present, and the ones that it is already serving, the land that is available, the land that is already the community toilets that are already existing. So similar to the public toilets, just a larger region, you get the overall view for the household community toilet construction. And then again, based on the preferences for the household, the toilet type system is installed, and the sanitation, the on-site treatment systems are based on also what is currently possible from the accessibility, the type of the geographical typography, etc. So that's recommended through this survey infrastructure planning module. So you can also select both household and public, and then you get the combined survey, that is containment unit selection. Sorry, for the containment unit, then you come with the type, land availability, the flood prone area, water supply, groundwater, comfort in using the two different separate chambers, etc. by the local users. Then the data is processed based the decision matrix was based on the discussion with the partners. There are different technologies are suggested, and then selection will be based after the combined discussions. And then for the vehicle procurement, after the surveys collected, the there's two different. So it depending on from the user side, the location and the type and the volume, the number, frequency in the year, and from the desludging operator side, the capacity, the willingness to travel to a treatment system, number of working days, other points. So this, both the sides from both the sides, it is evaluate, the data is collected, and then some of the benchmark assumptions for the requirements from the city or the municipality for prescribed desludging, population growth rate, all of that is also included within the algorithm. Then it arrives at the volume of the volume that needs to be treated for a particular region, and depend on the type of desludging interval and the capacity that that region has in terms of treatment plants, and the operators' willingness to travel and the number of operators. So that is all fed in. And if there is not enough operators, then we go into the purchase of new vehicles. So that also is a step that we get from the output of this planning process. So for the treatment infrastructure, based on the current treatment capacity and the sludge accumulation rate method, both of them, we start with if the current ones are sufficient, and if not, if a new treatment selection system has to be built, the selection of the site based on all of these variables, and then selection of the technology based on all of these variables. The algorithm gives the number of for the capacity, the vehicle procurement that is needed to transport the said capacity from the site to the treatment plant. Then the quantification methods are all, it's all calculated based on the assumptions that you have input, and also the growth of the city that is estimated in the assumptions. So that way it arrives at a treatment capacity system that is needed for the city or the region. And then treatment site selection based also again from the questionnaire, we arrive at the optimum site that is not close to any habitation or water body, and then a discharge channel that is also follows the regulations that are set by the government of that region. Yeah. So these are the different infrastructure technologies that is considered within the city planning tool, and suggested based on the survey that is done. Suggestions are given out, and also includes geographical mapping of the region, a city, and what the steps need to be taken. Then we come to the regional planning, which is also similar to the city planning, just it includes for 2 or 3 or more in cities that are in a cluster in a region that can cross-utilize each other's treatment options. So it's not just dependent on a city or municipality's own treatment options, but also the close-by ones based on which is the nearest one that an desludging operator could go to and has the capacity to take the fecal sludge. So again, you start with entering all the data. The data is collected. So one is the STP within the city. STPs, that is FSTP, is a fecal sludge treatment plant that is in or near the city, and then one that is feasible from the city to travel. So this data is then used for the calculation purpose based on if it is depending on the treatment type, sometimes it's co-treatment, and then the amount that could go in the treatment systems differs depending on treatment technology. So all of that is also taken into consideration here. And then if the demand difference is then could be utilized from the existing ones, and if not, the new ones is needed, or can the ones in the next closest available one from the next city, if it is close enough that the operator could travel to. So that kind of calculation is done at this end. Sorry. So here, for example, we have the 33 cities, and then the data from different cities are collated. And of course, enumerators or engineers, planners from those regions are invited to take part in this collective data collection. And then we arrive at something like this, which involves, for this particular region, what is the total for these 15 cities, what are the available treatment plants currently. So the red ones include the total treatment plants in the regions, and then the ones that can be cross-utilized are also represented here. So these are the ones from outside, and then these are within the city. And then, yeah, we'll come to that now. So here we have for Mahindra World City plant, the total capacity and the current utilization, so the difference of 200 KLD. And then for this city, there's total need is 50 KLD, and then they belong to the name of the treatment plant that they have is Alandur, and then they are all clustered into one group, so that cluster ID is also identified here. So from the region that you took the survey from, we come to the cluster, and then again, the second one we have is total near fecal sludge to be desludged is 37, again belonging to the same treatment plant. So this and this city belongs to the same cluster and utilize the same treatment plant. So we arrive at a treatment plant that both these cities could use. And then once we map at this and then identify the different clusters, we identify within each cluster which city belongs to which cluster, and then which are the treatment plants that is available for that city clusters to utilize, and if where the desludger operators to go to, that is. So here for cluster 2, the amount for these different cities, the total fecal 6 cities, the total fecal sludge to be desludged is 260 or 259 KLD, and then we arrive at, you can also see that by clicking on the green map, you come at the same information for the cluster 2. And then you come at each individual city. That is here, this belongs to the cluster 2, and the amount and where it needs, which cluster it belongs to and which treatment plant goes to. So basically this helps in if we have cities that are close enough, and then cities or townships that are close enough and they have treatment plants that some of which is and has excess, all its capacity is not utilized. If it's possible to work with the other cities close by to utilize its capacity fully. So that's where the regional planning comes in. Some of the questionnaire for each city needs to be done separately, and then if it's all done, or if they have the data even without doing it through the toolbox, if they have the data separately outside, they could input it in the regional planning, and then we can arrive at this data. So yeah, I'll stop here for questions. And if not, I'll continue. I know it's over time. Just have the business model selection. This under the planning is I'll not play the video now. You can go through it later. The business model tool helps. There is certain business models that are developed by different partners that is then collated by us and put here, which then you can, based on the the partner, like users' level of interest and which part of the sanitation value chain and the relevance. We can choose that from the available business models. So this is how the business model tool looks. You can look into each of the business model and then check feasibility based on your data. So you input then feasibility assessment data and then select what is possible. You can shortlist it by which part of the value chain you can utilize. And then this is the feasibility study. So not feasibility of applying the business model for the user. So by answering these, we arrive at the business model that is suitable, or in this case, there is no precondition. So if there's no business model that is available, that is suitable, then of course you will not get. But most of the time, if it is, if you have infrastructure policies, or if you have existing preconditions that are met, then you will be given a business model that you can follow. Yeah, so these are some of the reports. And if I'll just continue on to the learn function within the toolbox. This is as a knowledge repository, which I was briefly mentioned earlier. Like, it is once you decide to publish your data, that will then be captured here, like the stakeholder engagement plan, that you can then, others in the sector can read about it. It's a knowledge repository. Then we have the other resources that are linking to other tools that are not part of the toolbox, but is available if you need. It looks like this. And then we have the contribute function, which you can directly upload any reports or that are relevant to any of the studies you have done using the toolbox tools. You could contribute your report, a final public report that you have, so that others could also, if they are working in similar area, or if they're using similar function area, could be used. You could share them here. This is the dashboard. So if once you sign in and log in, this is how it will look. Yeah. So I think that's time for me to ask for more, if you have any questions.
Eva, there are quite a bit of questions in the chat box. I'm sorry. So Chari, if you could take up some of the questions in the chat box.
Yes, I am going through them now.
So I think just to save time, probably we could read out the questions, and then we could have a little more clarification. So one question is, how much data is needed for vehicle procurement? There's a module on vehicle procurement. What sort of data you need for estimating the vehicle procurement?
The number of questions that are needed is detailed. One sec here. God, that was a lot of questions. So for the vehicle procurement, once you select those, the questions would be desludging operators, 10, city treatment related questions, 13. So it's 23 questions. If you want to view these questions, it's freely available. You can go to the FSM Toolbox website and go through them individually and see if those questions are, you have the answers to those questions. I can.
Yeah, so Dr. Eva, I just wanted to, so there are questions that are embedded that would help us to identify how many vehicles are required of different sizes. But what would be interesting to inform, broadly, what are the decision variables you take? Is it based on the number of septic tanks, number of treatment plants, what is the distance between the treatment plant and the demand generation point? Are these criteria to decide number of vehicles required broadly?
Yes. Yes, that's correct. So the current existing vehicles, if it is sufficient to serve, cater to the population based on the size of the vehicles, the capacity of the vehicle to hold, and the number of trips they're willing to do, the days they work. So based on from the operator side how they function and the current way of the number of services they are willing to do, and if it is meeting the city or the municipality's demand that is there per day, and also cross-referencing it with the region that the operator is willing to cover, and if it is also there's a treatment plant within close area. So all of these are the criteria that is covered under the desludging operators. If there's going to be more number, if we increase the number of desludging operators needed or not.
Yeah. So Mr. Vivek, you wanted to ask a question. Over to you.
Yeah, very good evening, everyone. And Ms. Siva, thank you so much for that detailed presentation. My question is regarding financial planning, and the reason I ask about is that we have a national policy on sanitation that is called Swachh Bharat Mission, and it earmarks a fund of rupees 230 per capita for FSM. So is there any amount indicated by your side also which could be taken as a as an indication that what exactly the amount could be earmarked for per capita for FSM? And I'm still wondering where that 230 rupees came from. If you could help me with that as well. Thank you.
Sorry, which 213 rupees?
Yeah, I will explain, Vivek, later on that. Okay. So Eva may not be completely familiar with that. So there is certain thumb rules that have been suggested at the national level for budgetary allocation. So, but you may please explain how the financial planning is done.
Right. So we currently do not have a particular, because of the difference in currency values and what is available in different parts of the world. And since this tool is intended for use for around the world, we do not have a financial model within the current system. All we could do is if you put in an algorithm, if you put in a detail of what the number or variation, you can do the calculation of what is needed based on outside of the tool. So it is not captured within the tool. Yeah, that's not, the financial modeling is not part of the tool.
So Vivek, just to answer your question, this number came from some broad consultants understanding using very basic nature-based solutions in a rural context, not much applicable in urban context. In the rural context where the land is available, you can spread the infrastructure easily using nature-based solutions. More on that, this low-cost number has come up. But if you are really going for in an urban context where the densities are high, land is premium, and you need to have a lesser footprint, then these numbers may become a little more challenging. So this is predominantly led by the Rural Ministry, Drinking Water and Sanitation, and that's where this number is coming from. But in an urban context, such numbers were not given. Now, one more question that came up, which is important, which is this toolbox interactive for guidance, like a real-time guidance, or is it static? It's a self-learning.
Yes, so it is set up to be a self-learning, but we have introduced like a chat box function, but we are not connected to a call center, so it is only depending on our working hours, we will respond back to you. But the easiest,
it is not a bot.
It is not a bot, no. Yeah. So yeah, you could interact with us and we'll respond to you within 24 hours. But easier also would be email. I think it's a direct and
so Sudhaji,
quicker.
you need to write to them or write to us so that we could respond. It's not completely real time. Mr. Singh, Nagendra Singh, over to you.
Yeah, just, thank you very much. Just I was trying to know that does this tool also have some sort of question that factor out the risk informed, if it is a flood or something, or upcoming risk when you are designing a citywide inclusive sanitation facility? Over.
Risk involved. So when you get the, you mean for the plan? Okay. So for both the assessment and the planning, you have the recommendation that comes out in the report, and so the risk in terms of that is existing is assessed in the assessment. It is whatever is currently urgently needed is mapped out, right? And so in terms of implementation, it is just it has a few assumptions, and based on the assumptions and the study and the survey of collected, it is suggesting or helping you map out the next steps to do. So I think your risk will be based on making sure that your assumptions are correct and relevant to the current time, and you have to be cognizant of the fact that your data, if it is collected 5 years ago, if it is not relevant anymore, that is also a risk that you are taking when you're doing that. So it is all based on data and the timeliness and the assumptions that you input. Yeah.
Yeah, one or two other questions. A friend from Indonesia asked, many of these tools they come and go. How the practitioners use, they may or may not use it. I know there's no answer to this, but I think whether it is a sewer system or a non-sewer system, it's not always a city which is actually using those tools. Many a times the consultants use the tools. The project management units established under various programs, they use the tools. If you want to just know what is the sizing of the treatment plant, fecal sludge treatment plant, these tools will be helpful. The city may or may not use, but the stakeholders associated with the city could definitely use them and help city to, come up with a plan. So I think I would not be too worried about the city engineers directly interacting with the tool, but the tools can be used by the consultants or other engineers who are associated with it. I think they can use it. This was asked by one, I think Mr. Gupta asked this question, so I hope it's clear about it. Yeah. Now, just Eva just wanted one or two other questions for the benefit of everyone. Now, there is a concern about climate resilience, and the infrastructure has to be properly designed for variability. Do you have that module in this tool where climate change impacts are captured, or at this stage it is too early to think about it?
So yeah, it's a very good question, very relevant right now as well, considering the floods that were happening also in parts of India. So we do capture flood-related information for a region when doing the planning. So that is captured, but if it's also dependent on the pattern and that has existed. So it is also changing currently. So the resiliency over 5 years or 10 years is manageable, but also it is to be taken if there's any new information and updates needed. It is something that we have to work with in the system as well. But currently we are capturing flood-related information. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. One more question. There are some big cities, capital cities. They have both sewer system as well as non-sewer system situations. Can this tool be taken in an integrated way, covering both sewer and non-sewer? You've covered quite a bit is non-sewer aspect, but I just wanted, I'm aware of it, but I want participants to be known that, it can cover both.
Yes, definitely. I think that's very important to iterate again from myself as well. This tool is not just for saying it's called FSM Toolbox, but also it works in conjunction with the existing sewer system. that is needed for because the cities are growing, and it might not be always be possible to have a sewer network for in every place. So it is designed to work with existing sewer system and on-site system. So it's not one or the other only. Yeah.
I will ask Neha to talk about it. Just one last point for the benefit of everyone again. So the behavior change communication is an integral part of the sanitation planning. Are there tools, are there checklists, are there templates available in the toolbox for implementing behavior change communication programs?
Currently not. I mean, the only behavior change, or it's not even a communication tool, it's more capturing the stakeholder engagement plans, it's just capturing the current stakeholders. But as a communication tool, we just recommend that using the stakeholder engagement plan, which kind of stakeholders you need to inform and be engaged in at what intensity, that is captured. But the type of communication or how to engage them is not possible through the
Not
tool.
possible.
Yeah.
Dr. Sneha, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Eva. I think that was a very wonderful presentation on the tools. I just wanted to quickly ask one question. Does it also take future population category, future population growth also while planning? Whether we can, future projections can we make through this tool?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, for the infrastructure planning, definitely both city and regional, if it's the city's growth is or the region's growth is always taken into part of the algorithm calculation. So that is one of the questions that you need, or the rate at which the growth is seen currently is part of, you will be entering that data as well as a part of the questions. Yeah.
Thank you. And one more question. Sorry that I'm taking a little bit, but does it also give how much does it require the unit costs, or how much does it require to invest such kind of infrastructure in a phased manner, depending on the availability of the city's financial status?
So the costing factor is something that is not part of the tools, because the costing depends, varies from place to place, region to region, country to country. So it's currently not part of the tool. So it is based on the output of the tool is something that we recommend that the planners or the consultants calculate based on their current situation, because it varies.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I think we have exceeded the time. Thank you, Eva, for fielding all the questions. And as I said, tools are tools. It is up to us how we want to use them. How do we want to put to use for proper different applications? We need not go from end to end. We can pick up a module, use it for the particular purpose. So it has all the flexibility. And I think just last question, is it a open source, or do we need to
definitely open source. Yeah.
So friends, this is a completely open source, available for all of us to use it appropriately, be it a stakeholder consultation related questions, or infrastructure planning or clustering, as she explained. You can go in a regional approach. All this for planning, this tool can be available at no cost. So thank you very much.